Hello and welcome to the Master Chef of Nightingale. Today we're going to be going through nearly or pretty much all the recipes, bar some that I haven't been able to obtain and some I'm not too sure are even in the game just yet. But we are going to be cooking surf and turf, shepherd's pie, lunar nectar, you name it, we're cooking it. We're going to look at and explore how sort of cooking works when using some of the various ingredients. We're going to suss out what is the best recipe or the most potent for your health and stamina, and generally just getting fat and lazy, eating a whole ton of good food. So let's get into it. So we're going to start from this top. So we're going to start with this deboned raw fish. So we can cook this one straight away. And for that, we simply just need some raw fish. So for this, we're going to be using some very fresh rainbow trout. Very simple dish. No spices added. Giving us a health regeneration, stamina, and rain fire resistance. With the highest value being your stamina regeneration of 20%. Let's give this one a cook. Very quick to cook as well. And we can see it right here. Nice little treat that you can access very early. You will find your rainbow trout in the forest realm. So a very nice early sort of game meal that you can prepare. Now keep in mind, you will need your tier 2 bonfire. That will allow you to cook your deboned raw fish, as well as some of the other very tasty treats that we'll come to. Now next we have dough. So dough requires a fair bit of process. So we need the refined flour from wheat, and then we need some oil from meat. So let's go have a look at crafting some of these. So you can find wheat in many places. You can find it, a good place is in the forest realms, sort of near human settlement areas. You could also try the swamp realm around a similar sort of locations. Another good thing to do is once you do get some wheat, you'll be able to process it into seeds and grow it yourself. Now you got to keep in mind with wheat, it looks like this. So it's plant fiber, then in brackets wheat. In order for us to turn the wheat into refined flour, we'll have to head over to your refined mortar station, or alternatively your excellent mortar station, and you'll see refined flour. We'll be adding our wheat there, converting that into flour. So it's quite an insane ratio of, you'll get 1 item of wheat for every 10 plant fiber of wheat that you get. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we have our refined flour now. Now we need to get the oil. Before the oil, we're going to use a few different types just so we can see if there is much of a change of stats for the end product. We want to try to figure out how much of a difference it will make and if it's worthwhile doing. So we got to try some harpy, some rainbow trout, some tier 3 predator, some jana, just to give us an indication. So I'm going to go ahead and cook all these oils. Okay, so we've cooked a bunch of meat. We've got our refined flour. Now let's have a look at the different stats we can get from some of the different options. So wheat on its own offers nice boost to stamina and health regeneration, but let's say if we want to build something a bit more robust, we could add in some tier 3 predator, giving an increased health regeneration, stamina, maximum health at 20%, magic resistance, stamina efficiency. So overall, quite a good little build there. Then we have jana, which gives quite a potent boost to stamina, durability, maximum health, and poison resistance. So quite a good potential option there. Rainbow trout offering a reasonable boost, nothing crazy, but it does offer fire resistance and rain resistance. And the harpy giving a really nice movement speed boost for 25% and a stealth rating. So we can see when it comes to cooking, we can mix so many different potential options to really craft food to exact scenario that we're trying to build for. This is just a good example of some of the potential options to consider when you are cooking. If you want more speed, you want to look for creatures that can give you more speed. For one like the harpy, a bit more of an all-rounder when it comes to health and regeneration. Fish is a good option. Same with jana, offering superb stamina and health. And predators, similar to the trout and fish, giving an overall nice boost of health and stamina. So for this example, we'll cook it with jana and we'll cook one with harpy. So we can see here, the only unfortunate thing is when we do look at these, we won't be able to tell what was the base food type. We can't tell if it's harpy or jana, but you can only tell by looking at the stats. Both the harpy and jana give the same hunger mitigation, and we can see all the stats here reflected. So we need to eat right now, so let's try the jana first. So that was a little bit disappointing. That didn't seem to really do anything. So dough by itself is quite average in the sense that it's pretty much an instant hit. So if I go to eat this, we go consume, it's an instant consumable. So no duration effect until we start combining dough with other aspects and other meals. So dough by itself is not necessarily something we want to be eating just on its own. You might want to be considering looking at like the Artisan Loaf, which has a very good duration, but we'll come to those soon. So let's have a look at the filleted raw fish now. So in order to do the filleted raw fish, we need to have some deboned raw fish, which I prepared earlier. And so when comparing and looking at the deboned fish to the filleted raw fish, just gives a nice little boost to your stamina regeneration and some of the other stats. Of course, this will depend on the type of fish that you're cooking with. So let's cook this up. So in order to do your deboned, you will need your tier 3 stove. And you can see when we consume the deboned raw fish, it's just an instant. So again, something that we will want to be further preparing in order to make it much more potent. Now we move on to the fragrant dough. So fragrant dough is a bit more advanced. So we'll start with the dough. So in order to get the dough, we obviously will need the refined flour and we'll need some oil from the meat, and then we need to look at the aromatic. I couldn't figure out exactly which the decor was. Let me know in the comments which one it is, but to make aromatic we need to have some flowers and some oil. So again, what you use will very much determine your stats and what you're looking for. But look at this. If we combined flour with tier 3 harpy, we get a stealth rating of 110. So I'm looking for more of a health boost. Let's go for jhana. Okay, so back to the fragrant dough. We now have the aromatic and we have some dough. And we can see here we still don't have a duration. So this is again something that we probably want to consider combining to make an artisan loaf or other ingredients or other recipes further maximize the potential, because this will be an instant hit if we go to eat this. Let's give it a cook. So if we eat some of the fragrant dough, we know there's no duration. So again, this is just going to be an instant, giving us a bit of health and stamina and some of the other effects. When it comes to the injury slab, you would have cooked plenty of these already, but that is pretty much a straightforward, regardless of any material you use. I'm pretty sure it's always the same, but we'll just sort of skip this one because we are all pretty familiar with it, and we'll move on to the marinated raw meat. Now things start to get juicy. We'll require seasoned raw meat and some marinade. So let's start off with the seasoned raw meat. We'll see the seasoned raw meat here, and in order to get the seasoned raw meat, we'll need spice and obviously meat. But let's go with the spice. So how do we get spice? When it comes to raw spice, there's a few different versions, but probably one of the most abundant and easy to find is the bound ichor, or you could go for the salt itself, which can be mined from certain what looks like ore deposits. So for this, we'll just use some bound, because that's quite a bountiful resource you'll come across. And keep in mind, you do need a lot of bound because it's a 10 bound to get 1 unit of spice. Now that we've got our spice, we've got choices between the bound or the salt, so we can have a look at some of the differences. We'll go with meat jhana again, as that's pretty potent for your health and stamina. So you can see between the salt and the bound, bit of a difference there. The hunger mitigation is better on salt and non-existence on your bound, but does include a stealth rating. But for this example, we're going to go with salt. Make a few of these because we will need this to create the marinated raw meat. So that leads us on to the next part, which is the marinade. So for the marinade, we'll need oil again, and we'll need refined salt. So we're going to need some refined salt. So in order to get the refined salt, we will need to have harvested just some salt from some of the ore deposits and turn that into a refined salt. Then the other thing we'll need, which is oil, which we've already crafted previously. Just have a quick look at some of the options here. You can see there's quite a variety between the different ingredients. So again, a lot to mix and match and mess around with. But for this, again, we're just going to go with jhana. We are looking for a good health and stamina boost, and jhana is a very good option for all those. Okay, now we can make some marinated raw meat. So to do that, we've already cooked the seasoned raw meat. As you can see here, we've used some jhana, and now we need to marinate it with some additional jhana, and we can see here starting to get some quite potent boost and benefits here. And again, this is an instant. There's no duration mentioned here. We do have a high item level as well, 99. But again, this is going to be an ingredient we need to further process into a perfect steak or an other option to get a duration and make it much more potent. So we'll cook a few of these and we'll save them for later because we'll come to the perfect steak shortly. But before that, we've got mixed plants. Now, mixed plants is basically mixing any of your different berries and flowers. Lots and lots of options here. You can see we can try mix some mist berries with some of the other ingredients, and we can see if it gives a bit more of a boost. Looks like adding flowers will give us a bit more health. Alternatively, we could try mix some mushrooms and berries to give us a bit more stamina. But you can see here, it also, depending on your ingredients, you'll get a higher item level, and this has an effect duration. So this is something you can combine easily, quickly, and depending on how you focus in your ingredients, you can get a reasonable stamina and health boost. But in terms of ingredients, this tends to be on the weaker side. So now we can move on to our perfect steak. This is where things start to get much more beneficial. So now we have a marinated raw meat, which required us to first do seasoned raw meat. Then we needed to marinate it. Then we can cook it into the perfect bloody steak, mate. Doesn't get any better than this. So this is going to give us a whopping maximum health, 425.6, a stamina of 72, a health regeneration of 88, stamina regeneration of 3.6, mitigation of 54, and an effect duration of 24 minutes. So that is some potent benefits. I've gone and cooked a few more, so we'll get a few going. So this is definitely your higher tier level of food, item level of 99, very potent. Let's cook some. So it's going to take quite a long time. So 30 seconds for each unit. So we have a total, we're cooking 5. So we have a 2-minute and something, 2-minute 30 kind of time frame to cook all this. Now keep in mind, I do have some of the other traits and augments to make this quicker. So depending on how you set it up, it may be longer or shorter. Okay, so we have a perfect steak now that we can eat. So let's go ahead and eat this and see what it looks like. Whew. Okay, so we got a 24-minute countdown there at the bottom, giving us more health, more stamina. An absolute beast of a meal. Definitely something you'll want to cook and have a few of, depending on what resources you can get a hold of. Obviously, farming jhana can be quite good just by running the vaults over and over again. And that's your perfect steak. So interesting to note, the perfect steak isn't the best sort of meat meal you can cook, but we'll come to which one is the very best shortly. So now we'll move on to roasted berries. So berries just are your typical berries that you'll find all around the map, and you can roast them to give them a bit more longevity and bonuses on the various attributes. Now, depending on your berries here, I've only got a few here, including, interesting enough, quite a high tier sort of fungus mushroom sort of thing that it's actually a petrified mollusk. There you go. I hadn't read the actual details of it, but I believe it is found in the forest realms. Now, you might need to go to the Ascended Antiquarium forest realms or other forest realms in the Ascended regions, and you will need a 230 pickaxe. So looking at this compared to, say, the mist berries for a higher level tier item, it doesn't seem to give you that much of a better stats, but we will cook with this and cook a few of these in case we can actually incorporate this into something else, maybe a salad. So we'll give that a crack. We'll try this. We'll also cook some mist berries together. But my understanding, mist berries are found in the swamp realm. Don't know about any other realms. They look like this in the swamp realm. You may find them in other realms. I'm not too sure where else you might find them, but just to give you an indication of what they look like. So we'll cook a few of these as well. Now, the thing I forgot to mention about the perfect steak is you will need an augmentation, the meat grinder, to be able to build your perfect meat from memory. So in order to cook the perfect steak, which I forgot to mention, will be your tier 3 stove until you've gotten to the watch and to the Ascended realms, which you can purchase from the Watch, the Ascended Antiquarium, any of those realms, whether desert, forest, or swamp, and many more of the Ascended realms will let you purchase it. So you should come across this quite easily once you get to that stage of the game. Okay, next we have our classic roasted meat. So roasted meat, we can access this from the get-go from our fire, and this offers quite a nice little boost to the meat that we find, and it does have an effect duration, of course, being the tier 1 sort of cooked meat. It's much lower in health, stamina, and stats in its attributes. So we'll just cook one of these, 2 of these. Most likely cook this a ton of times already. Okay, next we have the salad. So your salad is unlocked from your bonfire, your tier 2 cooking bench or cooking area, and then also your tier 3. So you'll be able to access it there. You won't be able to access it from your campfire. So we're going to cook some salad. So cooking salad, we get to mix some plant berries and some spice. This gives quite a good hunger mitigation. So something to consider when you want to starve off that hunger for a bit of time. So for this, we're going to use salt as it's a bit more potent compared to the bound. Cook a few of these. So let's eat some salad mist berries. It's going to starve of this hunger for quite some time and also give us an 18-minute duration. So quite a good little mix there with the mist berries. Okay, so we've already covered the seasoned raw meat. We needed to cook the seasoned raw meat in order to get the marinated raw meat to then cook the perfect steak. So now we'll go on to the tender steak, which simply just requires the seasoned raw meat, which we prepared earlier. And again, this is a step above your roasted meat, which you'll be able to unlock from your bonfire, your tier 2 cooking station, and your tier 3 cooking station. So we're going to cook some tendered steak now. It's going to give it quite a nice boost, good duration, good, very nice maximum health bonus. And again, it's a much better version of the roasted meat. This is sort of your tier 2 equivalent. Next, we have your vegetable medley, which requires some salad and some aromatic. So we've already covered cooking aromatic, so we'll just grab some of that. So we've already cooked the salad, so we know how to prepare that. And we've got the aromatic ready. So with these 2 ingredients, we get quite a nice high item level of 99, a maximum health of 300. Whew, pretty good. Maximum stamina 117, very good regeneration rate, stamina regeneration, and a very good hunger mitigation. So this is definitely a huge step up from your salad. When looking at the salad, we have a measly maximum health of 75, stamina 60. Then if we jump over to the vegetable medley, we have a huge increase here. So very potent on your health, stamina, good duration as well. So we'll cook one of these. So next we have our Artisan Loaf. So we've already prepared some of these ingredients. We've done the Fragrant Dough, and then we just need some raw berries. So we've already got some Fragrant Dough prepared, so that's going to be nice and quick. And then we got a choice of different berries. The mist berry is definitely offsetting much better on the hunger mitigation, so we're going to go with those. Now, to unlock the Artisan Loaf, we will need to build one of the augmentations that allows us to access this recipe. Now, pretty much any of the food augments will let you cook the Artisan Loaf. The only thing is you will need your tier 3 workbench, your tier 3 cooking bench in order to cook it. So you can see here, you can use the cast iron pot, the little knife here, the cooking knife, frying pan, and I'm pretty sure even the meat grinder. So nearly all of them will let you get access to the Artisan Loaf. So we'll cook the Artisan Loaf now. Reasonable maximum health, good stamina. Health regeneration is very nice, quite potent, and a very nice hunger mitigation and effect duration. So we'll craft a couple of these. Then we move on to the Beef Wellington. This is the monster of monsters when it comes to health. Beef Wellington, I think from memory, is the best meal to cook in terms of boosting your health and has one of the biggest, longest durations, but requires a ton of different things. So we need marinated raw meat, which remember, to get marinated raw meat, we need seasoned raw meat. Then we need to marinate it. Then we need fragrant dough, which is dough, then which requires refined flour, oil. Then we go to the fragrant dough, aromatic, and then the dough. So we need so many different things. And then last we also need some shiitake mushrooms. We're going to go ahead and cook this. So we've got some shiitake mushrooms. I believe you get these in the Ascended Forest realm. So worth trying to hunt around there. Let me know in the comments if there's other places you'll find them. And this is the craziest thing, right? So this will give you a full hour of effect duration with a maximum of health of 920. So anything that comes even remotely close to that is your surf and turf when it comes to health. So this is an absolute monster of a meal. Now, obviously, depending on what ingredients is used will depend on its potency. So you can probably push this much further than what I have right here, but this is a good indication of some of the benefits you're going to get. Now, the trick about the Beef Wellington is that you can only get it from the Ascended Hunt realm, in particular the desert biome. So the desert Ascended Hunt realm is where you can purchase it from the Essence Trader. It being one of the ultimate meals that we have right now, you're going to find it in one of the hardest realms to exist in. Definitely worth purchasing this as soon as you can and giving it a try. A whole hour of duration, absolute mental. So we'll cook a couple of these. Okay, so we're going to eat this Beef Wellington and just have a look to see how crazy this time's going to look when we consume it. Oof, and look at our health go. Holy moly. Almost, giving me not doubling my health, but getting close to around that mark. Absolute phenomenal boost into your health. And again, this is going to be regenerating at a very reasonable rate over the course of 60 minutes. So this is going to be really good if you need to be mindful of how much you need to carry or spaces you want to take up. But again, this is just one of the best ones you can get. Moving on to the bread. So bread just requires dough. So that's going to change the dough into an instant to something that has a duration, and not too bad of a duration, turning the dough to a 21-minute consumable with reasonable hunger mitigation. But again, looking at that maximum health compared to the Beef Wellington, whew, absolute bonkers. So we'll cook some of these as well. And just keep in mind, in order to get bread, we can purchase it from any of the gloom biomes, whether that desert, forest, or swamp. You should find it at all the Essence Traders in those places. Okay, next we have catch of the day. Now this is going to really depend on the fish that you catch and how potent it is. But this will turn your filleted raw fish into a consumable with a good duration, again of a 27-minute effect duration. Very nice maximum health, good stamina, health regeneration, and overall quite a nice good little kit to have with you. Not too bad to prepare. So we've already prepared marinade, so we remember how to do that. In order to cook catch of the day, we're going to need two things. We're going to need to purchase the recipe from any of the biomes in the Ascended Aquarium realm. So forest, desert, swamp, purchase it from the Essence Trader. And then on top of that, we're going to need an augmentation. So for instance, the fishing trap, which you can see right here, or you can go for the crude trout trophy. That will also give you access to catch of the day, grilled fish, and fish cutlet. Okay, so let's go ahead and cook some catch of the day. At the moment, I don't have any coffee, so we might come back to this. So move on to fish cutlets. This is where we can use the deboned raw fish, which we prepared earlier, which just required raw fish. Now we just need the spice, which we prepared earlier. So we'll go some deboned raw fish. Now we can use spice or salt. I'm going to use salt because it gives a better bonus. We'll cook a couple of these. And keep in mind, again, to cook the fish cutlet, we are going to need the augment, the fishing trap, or the mounted trout trophy. Fish cutlet can be purchased from any of the herbarium realms, and it gives a nice health regeneration, maximum stamina. Then we have the grilled fish, which is straight up just grilling a fish. Very much an early game recipe. You can purchase from the Astrolabe realm. Any of the Astrolabe realms, you'll be able to pick up the grilled fish. Gives some nice regeneration and turns the fish into an effect duration of 15 minutes. So a good little boost there when you're early game. Then we move on to the Lunar Nectar. Now this is an interesting one. We're going to need raw fruit. So these can be our berries and some of the other weird things that we can pick up. And we need glass. So for Lunar Nectar, we're going to go the raw mist berries, and glass does make a difference. So only slight, but depending on what you use, you can get some better stats and attributes. So that's kind of a cool thing to consider. We're going to opt in for Sapphire here because it gives us a slight better maximum stamina. Now, the very interesting thing about Lunar Nectar is it's one of the few things that can actually increase your critical damage, your magic power, but in particular, your critical damage. Now, it might be only slight, but it's still something. The Lunar Nectar can only be purchased in your Herbarium Swamp Realm from the Essence Trader. But again, one of the very cool ones that actually gives you some critical damage. So you can see here, we can have a look at all these other ones, and there's only a few different ones or recipes, I believe, that actually give any kind of damage increase. So one question we might have is, can you actually stack it? So unfortunately not, it just resets the time. But again, this is something cool to push your damage dealing a bit further. Very interesting recipe to have. So next we have Nectar. So Nectar is even more kind of crazy because it also does a similar thing to the Lunar Nectar, but it increases your critical damage even further. And again, depending on which glass you use, can change some of the stats or the attributes. It has a very good effect duration of 24 minutes roughly, depending on what you use. Your maximum health 300, regen, hunger mitigation, stamina. Very good, but the main thing is critical damage, 0.3 increase. So let's craft one of these and see if we can use both Lunar Nectar and Nectar to get a 0.4 increase on our critical damage. Okay, so let's use the Nectar. We'll consume that, and we'll consume the Lunar Nectar. So you can see we can actually have both of those running at the same time. Now, you may be able to get these stats a bit better depending on what you use. So this is something that will push your stats. If you're trying to get the absolute maximum damage output, you will probably want to use your Lunar Nectar and your Nectar. Now, in order to get your Nectar, you're looking at the Ascended Astrolabe Forest Realm to be able to purchase the schematic from the Essence Trader. But again, one of the unique recipes that can boost your magic power, critical damage. One of the very few. Now, next we have the Ritual Fabled Meat. Now, we've used these for the main quest line. We feed these to your ancient Eotans found in the Hunt Ascended and Hunt realms, forest realms. And for this, it's just using Fabled Meat and the gems. Now, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't matter what gems you use. No, that's not true. Okay, there is some difference in stats for what gems you might want to use. Now, the Ritual Fabled Meat is particularly interesting because it does offer magic power increase of 0.3, stealth, fire, poison, magic, and hunger. It offers a stealth, fire, poison, magic resistance. So a bit more of a rarer resource in terms of what you can actually get from its attributes, and a reasonable effect duration. So something to consider. However, do note it does weigh 5 kilograms. So it's much heavier than most of the other food that you'll be cooking, but something you can play around with a bunch of different gems. So for instance, we can try some of the rarer materials and see if we can get a bit more of a boost depending on how we mix it up. So you can see there is some ways you can boost the stats slightly, but probably not too significantly. The meat will be quite dominant on the specific attributes depending on which meat you use. So we'll craft one of these, and then it's the same again for ritual meat, but again it offers a much wider range, and this is something you'd feed to the normal Eotans. And keep in mind, you can only get the ritual fabled meat from the main quest, I believe. I don't think you can get that recipe any other way, whereas the ritual fabled meat you can obtain from the watch and from the Swamp Ascended Gloom realm. Next we have Sashimi. So that's just going to be your filleted raw fish, which we've cooked before. Right at the top here, filleted raw fish just requires some deboned fish, which requires a raw fish, and then just some oil. So we'll mix these ingredients together, see what we can kind of get, and go for health generation or maximum health. So for this, we might just go some jhana again. Now sashimi, you'll need to access the Ascended Provisioner Swamp Realm in order to purchase the schematic to be able to build it. Next we have shepherd's pie. So shepherd's pie uses seasoned raw meat. So in order to get seasoned raw meat, we've cooked that before. We just need meat and spice, which we'll add here. So we've got some seasoned raw meat even, and some dough. So turning two materials that don't have an effect duration, that are instant, into something much more tangible, giving a reasonable stamina, health, and a nice hunger mitigation and effect duration. So we'll craft some of these. If you do want to purchase the shepherd's pie recipe, you will need to go to the forest hunt realm. And next we have the surf and turf. Now that's very potent. This is going to require marinated raw meat and filleted raw fish. So for the marinated raw meat, we've already got some. We've got some jhana and we've got some fish. Now this is not the best fish to use, but this is just an example, giving a very nice maximum health, 425. So very, very decent. A huge hunger mitigation, regeneration, but definitely a very potent mix. And this can be purchased in your Forest Ascended Herbarium Realm. So we'll cook some of this now. Now keep in mind, Surf and Turf, I think you'll require your meat grinder in order to be able to build that at your tier 3 cooking station. And last we have Tac. So Tac just requires refined flour. And that's one of the very first additional meals you can cook that's purchasable from your antiquarium, desert, forest, or swamp realm. And you can access this, I believe, any of your cooking workstations. So that's going to wrap it up for cooking. Now there's a few things not included here, but it gives you a good idea of what cooking quite a few of the different dishes are. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this. Thanks very much. I'll catch you next time. Peace.